Today, someone shot at Trump, the fourth time in 2 years. July 2024, Butler, Pennsylvania. September 2024, a golf club in Florida. November 2024, a gunman arrested in Iowa along the motorcade route. And today, April 26, 2026, the Washington Hilton. A White House Correspondents' Dinner. 6 shots fired in the lobby. This video is about why people will keep shooting at Trump and why you, an ordinary person, personally paid for every single one of these incidents. Right now, this number on your screen shows how much of your tax money has been spent on presidential security above the normal baseline, going all the way back to 2016. In 10 minutes, that number will be different. And at the very end, I'll show you a figure that I hope will genuinely shock you. A number that explains why this video exists at all. If this matters to you, hit like. I stayed up all night to make an objective, data-backed video. Your support helps the channel grow. I'm going to show you one chart. After you see it, you'll look at today's shooting very differently. But first, a question. How has the average American worker been producing more or less per hour of work since 1948? Think about it for a second. The answer? Far more. Since 1948, the average American worker produces nearly 4 times as much output per hour. Economists call this productivity. Now the second question. If workers produce 4 times as much, how much more are they getting paid? Logic says 4 times more, or at least 3, or 2, right? This is 2 lines. Purple, productivity. Gray dashed, typical worker pay. From 1948 to 1979, they moved together. Every time workers produced more, their wages went up accordingly. Then, 1979, the turning point. The lines split. Not slightly, drastically. From 1979 to 2025, productivity grew by 90%. Typical worker pay grew by 33%. Productivity grew 2.7 times faster than wages. What does that mean in plain language? Workers produce more value every hour, but they don't take home a proportional share. The difference goes somewhere else. And you might ask, where? The gap went where it always goes, upward. Corporate profit grew from 6% of GDP to 11%. This isn't an accident. The economists at EPI say it directly. This is the result of policy decisions. NAFTA, China joining the WTO, the federal minimum wage being frozen for years. If you want me to do a separate breakdown of exactly how NAFTA hollowed out the American middle class, drop it in the comments. It's a big topic, won't fit here. I'll make it if there's interest. When tens of millions of people work harder for decades and see less in return, there are consequences. One of them is what we've been watching for the past 2 years. A teacher from California, a college student from Utah, an intern from Pennsylvania. They pick up a weapon and they go. A lot of numbers coming up, but I promise not one is wasted. Each one adds up to your personal bill. In 2016, the Secret Service spent $510 million a year protecting the president and other principals. By 2024, $1,031 million. That's a doubling in 8 years. The same 8 years, your paycheck barely moved. Divide that across all American taxpayers, 161 million of them. The increase in presidential protection alone costs each of you about $3.20 per year. Sounds small? Keep watching. Since 2016, year after year, you have paid $25.84 out of your taxes just on the increase in presidential security. Not counting the base, just the increase. Now let's get specific. What does 1 hour of that protection cost? $117,000. Around the clock, 365 days a year. 1 hour of their protection costs more than the average American earns in 2 years. But the federal budget isn't the whole story. Every time Trump travels to Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach County pays an additional $93,000 per day from its own budget. That's not federal money. That's your local budget. Schools, roads, social services, $6.8 million a year. At the average teacher salary in Palm Beach, $55,000, that's 120 teachers who weren't hired. 120 classrooms with no teacher this year. So one man could play golf under protection. And that's just Mar-a-Lago, one resort of many. October 2025, Trump demolishes the East Wing of the White House, the first major structural change to the building since 1948. He's building a ballroom, capacity 999. In August, he promised 200 million. In October, 300. By December, 400. Direct quote, "This is a monument. I'm building a monument to myself because no one else will build it." A monument to himself. $400 million. Bulletproof windows. In a country where 41% of people don't have $1,000 in savings for an emergency. The press secretary says, "Don't worry, it's all private funding." But check the budget. Spending on the presidential residence for 2026 increased by 866%. Underground bunkers, security upgrades, from your taxes. The beautiful parts, private. The underground parts, yours. And now, after April 26th, Trump says, "We need a level of security the world has never seen." Translation, the budget is going up again. But one question still hasn't been answered. Where do these shooters actually come from? Forget Hollywood. The real shooters of 2024 to 2026 are not who you'd expect. In movies, it's a basement-dwelling loner with a cat and a manifesto. In reality, see for yourself. Thomas Crooks, 20 years old, engineering intern, Pennsylvania. Ryan Routh, 58, small business owner, Hawaii. Tyler Robinson, 22, college student, Utah, killed Charlie Kirk. Vance Bolter, Trump voter, security instructor, Minnesota, shot 2 Democrats. Cole Allen, 31, school teacher, California. Today's shooter. See what they have in common? These aren't outcasts. Every one of them had a job, a home, a social function. You'd pass them in a grocery store and not look twice. Ideologically, they don't match either. One supported Trump, one opposed him. One was pro-Ukraine, one neutral. This isn't left-wing terrorism. It's not right-wing either. It's something else. How many politically motivated attacks occurred in the United States in the first half of 2025? Around 150, twice as many as the same period in 2024. A linear projection to 2026, one politically motivated attack per day, every day, across the country. Threats against members of Congress, up 3.6 times over 8 years. Threats against federal judges, doubled in 2 years. This is a trend, and the trend has a specific cause. I'll show it to you in one calculation. The LICEP Institute calculated what a minimally acceptable life actually costs in America in 2024. Not luxury, minimum. Housing, food, healthcare, transportation, children's education. One adult, $47,100 per year. A family with 2 children, $121,100. Median U.S. household income in 2024, $83,730. Do the math. A $37,000 annual deficit for the average household every year. Covered by debt, skipping medical care, not having children, working a second job, or a third. Housing costs in 2024 rose 10.6% in a single year. Childcare, up 7.7%, a record high in all of LICEP's history. Credit card delinquencies, the worst in 13 years. 41% of Americans don't have $1,000 set aside for unexpected expenses. Not $10,000, $1,000. Now look, the teacher from California, the student from Utah, the intern from Pennsylvania. Where do they come from? From these numbers. Not from any single breaking point, from the environment, from the feeling that the system has left no room. I'm not saying they're right. Allen is a criminal. Robinson is a killer. This isn't heroism. But when tens of millions of people live in a permanent gap between what was promised and what is real, statistics start to work. And out of those tens of millions, there will always be a few whose wiring breaks. Now, the main point, the one I promised at the beginning. After every shooting, the same thing happens. First, the Secret Service budget expands. Congress votes yes. Both parties, Democrats and Republicans, unanimous, give more money to protection. Second, local budgets for protecting officials go up. Schools and roads in Palm Beach don't get their share. Third, not one person in Washington, not one, says anything about fixing the gap between the wage chart and the cost of living chart, because that's complicated. It takes time, and it means touching things no one wants to touch. The cycle closes. Shooting, security budget grows, money goes there, doesn't address the cause keeps working, produces the next shooter, new shooting, budget grows again. This isn't government being stupid. The government is rational from its own perspective. Protecting itself is concrete, measurable, politically safe. Fixing the cause is long, hard, and could cost you the next election. A $400 million ballroom with bulletproof windows is the physical expression of that choice. They are walling themselves off, literally. Glass, concrete, armed guards. From the country they built themselves. And you know what Trump told reporters today? That in the new ballroom, this never would have happened. The solution? Wall yourself off more. Not figure out why someone has shot at you 4 times in 2 years. The USSS budget request for 2026, $3.5 billion. In just the next 12 months, you will pay another $12.50 above yesterday's total. And that's just the Secret Service. Without municipal budgets, without bunkers, $40.84, personally, from you, to protect one man. You'll say, that's nothing? Hold on. I promised you a number that would shock you. Here it is. $2.38 billion. This is the accumulated increase in U.S. presidential protection spending over 8 years. Not annual, not one time. The total of all excess appropriations that Congress, both parties, sent to the Secret Service above the 2016 baseline, year after year, from 2017 through 2024. Money that could have gone anywhere. Schools, hospitals, roads, programs for children. Now look closely. The USDA runs a summer nutrition program for children from low-income families, Summer EBT. $120 per child for the summer. One child, $120. A hot meal every single day of summer break. Divided. $2.38 billion divided by 120. 19,800,000 American children. Not 3 million. 6 times more. Nearly every child from a low-income family in America. Funded for years. That is the money that could have fed nearly 20 million children. And it didn't. It went to expanding the protection of a man who keeps getting shot at, because the system produces shooters from the very families where those children go hungry. 20 million hungry children today, 5,000 shooters tomorrow. And the bill for every one of them will come to you.